preparing. Looks good. It's preparing. Looks good. Okay, we're ready. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the second show and tell of this phase of product development for BoPS, a new back office planning system software application that processes planning applications for local planning authorities. For those who are joining us for the first time, welcome. For those who have joined us before, welcome back. My name is Tom Buttrick, and I'm the product owner for BoPS here at Southwark Council. I work in Southwark's planning policy and digital transformation team, where we're working on a number of digital planning projects. This morning, colleagues from Southwark and Unboxed will be presenting the efforts of our latest work to the MVP that took place through Sprint 2 over December and the Christmas period. So, drum roll please. We're proudly going to live demo the end-to-end journey of the submission of a lawful development certificate application through RIPA and PlanX, its drawdown through an API into BoPS, and then its determination and decision. So let's get started. Next slide, please. For those who are joining us for the first time, BoPS is a back office planning system that makes it more efficient to process planning applications. It makes it a lot easier to access planning data, and it meets the needs of planning officers and local planning authorities. Next slide, please. Where we are in the BoPS development sort of cycle, we have built an MVP. We are adding a few more features to the MVP, and then we'll be working to move it to beta testing very shortly. The demo we're going to be showing today will illustrate that. Next slide, please. And just briefly, what is a show and tell? Well, you're in one right now. It's an opportunity for us to keep you updated on the progress of this project, and it gives you an opportunity to feedback. And we undertake these shows and tells on a fortnightly basis. So the next one will be in 2 weeks' time. Next slide, please. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, there's a link in the description below. It's the rebrand.ly link, and you can type your questions in there, and we will be picking up all questions at the end of the demo. So do type them in and get involved. Thank you. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand over now to Martin of Unboxed, who is going to provide an update on what we've been doing in Sprint 2. Martin.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining. It's been an odd sprint with the Christmas break. We have actually had a 3-week sprint, but obviously a lot of people were off during the break. Our developers were working through, so we've got quite a lot done. I'll run you through briefly what we've worked on this sprint, and then Michelle's going to give you a demo. Essentially, we've continued to, the general theme has been around the application statuses. We've introduced some new application statuses, including invalid, withdrawn and returned, which we'll go through. We obviously prototyped and tested some of those new features. We have worked the validation step into the system, which we'll also demo. We've done some work on the public API and some other stuff which we'll talk about at the end, which is non-dev and design work. Essentially, the validation stage involved enhancing document management, making it easier for users. To reiterate, our users are planning officers and planning managers, to find and edit documents. So we've changed some layout stuff in the management of documents. The validation feature allows planners to select a validation date and mark an application as invalid. We can cancel an application, which involves setting the status to either withdrawn or returned. And all this work on the status has involved quite a lot of refactoring in the back end, so we've done some work to make our system a bit more robust and allow us a bit more flexibility in future, and also for the users to be able to see what status an application is at. Still got work to do on that. We've also added a couple of other things, pulled in some new fields from the RIPA API, which includes the payment reference, allowing planning officers to kind of cross-check the payment in the Gov.uk payment system. And the state of works refers to whether the work is proposed or existing work that the applicant is referring to. So best way to see all that is for Michelle to demo it. I'm going to let you take control of the screen, Michelle.
Great, thanks, Martin. Okay, so, okay, just going to share my entire desktop so you can see everything you need to. Can somebody confirm that you can see that okay? Should be able to see the PlanX screen. Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to take you through the whole kind of end-to-end journey now. And I'm going to start off, I'm going to be wearing a few different hats today, but the first one that I will be wearing is actually being an applicant. So here, what you can see at the moment is an applicant-facing service, which is PlanX, which has been built by Open Systems Lab, who are the team who are also building Ripper, which is to reduce invalid planning applications. And we're working really closely with them because the two products that we're building basically benefit each other and make sure that councils can actually start using them. So as the applicant, I'm going to submit my let's just do a simple application. So I'm just entering some address information. Okay, it's found the map and the property and the address. It's in a conservation area and my details. So I'm the applicant. Just put some generic information in there. I have an agent who's helping me with this. Just provide his details as well. Okay, and I should have a description, yep, that I prepared before. So I want, it's a roof extension above an existing closet wing. And now I need to upload some documents. So these are my drawings for my proposal. So I've got my existing drawings of what the property looks like now, and I've also got the proposed to show how I want to change it. Okay, so they're just uploading. Great. Okay, I would pay my fee. Okay, I've submitted my fee. And that's it from the applicant's point of view. So obviously this is a much more pared down version of PlanX. But the aim of this is to show that from that product, information will now be pulled into BoPS, our product, via the API that we've developed. So if I go into BoPS now, you will have to imagine that I am now a planner. I'm no longer the applicant. I'm logging in and I can see this application at the bottom. So 3 Bridge Arcade. It's at the bottom because obviously we've only just received it. There's loads of time to assess this. We've got 8 weeks, but we're not gonna hang around. We're gonna try and do it straight away. So let's take a look. Okay, so as the planner, I can see everything I need to about this application. So I've got the address. It's a residential application. Work hasn't begun yet. What this means is basically, as an applicant, with certificate of lawfulness, I could have actually done the work, I could have built the extension and applied for a certificate afterwards. But in this case, I haven't. I want to get the certificate first before I start building. I've also got the payment reference. So again, if I want to double check that the applicant has actually submitted their payment and that we've received it, I can double check our payment system against that reference just to confirm that. And then up here, I can see any constraints. So this does have a constraint. It's in a conservation area. That's good to know. I've got the documents that were submitted. So as you just saw, when I was an applicant, I submitted 5 to 6 documents. They're all in here. I've got the key application dates. So it was submitted just now today. It's been received. And that's calculated that in 8 weeks' time, this has to be assessed and determined, and the applicant has to have a decision by then. And we've got the contact information. So we've got the agent's details and the applicant, who is me in my other role. So what's the first thing we need to do? So we need to make sure that this is actually a valid application before we start to assess it. So to do that, we might have checked the payments, but we also need to check the drawings as well and make sure they have everything we need. So when we go into this page, as the planner, I am presented with a question: are the documents valid? Now, to understand that, I need to look in each document as would normally happen and make sure it's got the things we need. So let's have a look at the first one. Okay. All right, so I've got a really good preview there, but of course I want to look in a bit more detail, so I'll open that up. Okay, this is open up in the software that I use for kind of measuring and viewing documents. In this case, it's just Adobe Reader. After all, I'm not really a planner. And I can see that it's for existing rear elevation. It's got a drawing number down here, which is great. And it's also got a scale. So I'm quite happy with this drawing. I think it's valid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return back here. I'm going to enter my drawing number. Should have copied that, but I'll just put it in. And it's for an existing elevation. So I'm going to tag it with that as well. Save. And now you can see when you go back here, you can see the tag is here, the drawing number is here. If, for example, I want to go back in because I think that I've tagged it wrong, incorrectly, I can change that to side elevation instead and save. And I can also add other tags. And the reason we've done this is sometimes we planners will receive a PDF of several drawings, so it might be more than one thing. And there you go, you've got the two tags there. Now, I'll go through the rest of the list, add various drawing numbers, add tags so that I can easily find them later on. But in this case, I've noticed that the applicant has submitted an existing drawing of section BB. However, in proposed, I can only see section AA. So I am going to say, okay, this is invalid. I don't have all the documents I need. That should actually be section BB. So I'm just going to mark it as invalid. So we'll do that. And then I might go back home and work on another application for a bit while I'm waiting for the applicant to get back to me. I can double check on this screen at any time what the status is. So I've got all of these applications above that haven't been started. And I've got 2 that are invalid. And I'm basically waiting for more information from the applicant. But what we're going to assume is the applicant has got back to me really quickly. So I'm going to go back into that application. And I'm going to go into Manage Documents again. I am going to replace section AA because they've sent me section BB. So let's have a look. Yep, that's the document that they emailed. Put any numbers in for now. And this is a proposed section. I can see that the document has been updated, and if I go down here, I would be able to see that's the new version of the document as well. It's BB. Another thing that might happen is sometimes the document might be missing, so it's not about replacing it, but it's actually asking for a new document and uploading that. So in this case, the applicant also sent me another ground floor plan, and I'm just going to tag that as existing floor plan and upload it. Yep, I'm happy to upload that file. And we can see that at the bottom as well. So this screen is great for kind of doing validation and checking documents, but it's also at any point during the journey, if the planner needs to get back to the applicant or ask for more information, they can easily come here, replace documents, add new documents, change the tags, and do all of that in one place. Now I can mark that it's valid. The date in there is automatically the date that the application was received. If it had been valid from the day it had been received, even if I checked it the next day, we would keep it as that date because there's basically 8 weeks from that point to assess the application. In this case, the applicant might have taken a couple of days to get back to me, in which case I would change that maybe to the 9th of January. And then the 8-week time period would start from then. However, they were super quick. They got back to me straight away. So let's keep it as the 7th. Okay, I'm happy that it's valid. I can see that that step is now completed. The document numbers step is also completed because while I was looking at the documents, I decided to add the numbers at the same time. So it saved me a job later on, and I can now assess the proposal. So again, all of this information you see up here, constraints, application information at the top, this is available from every page. So it's useful for the planner if they just want to check something, they don't have to keep going back to that previous page. But the key stuff on this page really is the proposal documents. So I can open any of these up, I can measure them just to make sure that they do actually meet the requirements in terms of permitted development policy. And I can then say whether I make it, whether I recommend that it is granted or not. Now, of course, in future, when we're working, with PlanX and RIPA, we will be receiving more information from them about the proposal, which is what you'd expect to see up here. But for the purposes of this demo, we really wanted to show that we're getting the key information in terms of drawings and all of the background information, the address, the applicant information, that sort of thing. For ease and to speed this up, I'm going to say yes, I recommend it should be granted. So I'm just going to leave a short message saying measured it and it looks awesome. Now, I'm not sure a planner would say that, and this is why I'm not a planner. So we press save. And now I can submit the recommendation to my manager. So I can see the decision notice. This basically acts as a preview for me. So I can see what the applicant is eventually going to receive after my manager's had a look at it and ideally approved it. So it's granted. This, again, is a certificate of lawfulness for proposed use or development. That's because it hasn't been built yet. It's got all of the application information on here, the applicant's name, date of issue is to be determined. That will appear once the manager actually determines it. And we've also got the reference to the proposed plans. Again, in this case, we just have the one plan, but it's more likely to be more in normal, in reality. So submit to my manager. Okay, and so now I'll just double check. So awaiting determination. Yep. So I can see as a planner, this one now has moved into this tab. And what that means is that it's gone to my manager and I need to check. So I'm now going to put my third hat on, which is manager. Okay, let's just get rid of that. And I'm going to click on the application number. So, and this is the same application again. I can see all of the information up here. I can see, look, applicant is Michelle Ismay. This is the one we were just looking at. I can also review all of the documents again. I don't need to check the documents. The planner's already done that, but I do want to review the recommendation. What does the planner think we should do? So the planner in my team has recommended this is granted. They've provided me with some reassurance. They might provide something better there. But if I really wanted to, I could open the drawings and take a look myself. I guess it depends on the manager. In this case, I'm going to trust my planner. I might even have had a quick conversation with them if I have any questions, and I'm going to say, yes, I agree with the recommendation. Okay, and now finally, the final step is the manager also sees that preview decision notice, same as before, and they click determine. And what this means is that that decision notice has now been sent to the applicant. So if we go back home and we can see that this is now enclosed, and which one was it? 74, that was the one, and it's been granted. And the planner can see this as well. And this is really useful because sometimes the agent or the applicant might miss their email and actually call the planner up and be like, has there been a decision yet? And the planner can quickly check in here and say, yeah, it was granted. However, ideally, the applicant will keep an eye on their inbox and they will see they've received an email with that decision notice. So again, all of the information, applicant information, the address, that it has been granted, which is great news for me because I'm in applicant mode again. I'm super happy about that. And also the drawings and the decision. Okay, so that's kind of the end-to-end journey from all of the from the applicant's point of view. They've applied, their application has been assessed, the manager has had a look at it, made the final decision, and now we've received a decision ourselves as the applicant, and we're happy with that. One last thing I want to show you, and I know we're a bit short on time, but that is not where it ends. So That application was application number 74. Now we've built an API. So there's an API which pulls data, application data into BoPS. But this API that I'm going to show you now is an API that allows us to share data out of BoPS. And this might be for other products or services. It could be used for reporting or for a planning register, for example. And just to show you that this is updated and it's got that latest application in, I'm in Swagger now, which I am using to, I guess, interrogate the data in the API. If I execute that, okay, so it's a little bit geeky here, but this is the data in the API for that application. So application 74, I can see it's determined. So on a planning register, we might want to surface, only show determined applications, for example, allow somebody to search by those. I can see that's the one, it's the closet ring. And somewhere in here, yep, I can also see it was granted and that was a decision. So that's really the full end-to-end journey. And I think that I will stop talking now and I will hand over to, I think we've got Martin next. And we're happy to take any questions about that demo at the end.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Michelle, that was great. Just wait for the slides to load up. Yeah, so aside from the development work, you can see we've got quite a lot done. There's a few things in there that weren't demoed as well. Withdrawing applications and returning them is another significant thing. But aside from the development, we've been working on a theory of change for the service, the new service, which basically is a model for the inputs, the outputs, the outcomes, and the impact. We have a Miro board that we're working on, work in progress. There's a screenshot from it on the right there. I know it's not really very useful, you can't read it, but the long column there is all the metrics, the things that we think we'll need to monitor in order to kind of measure success. So we'll be iterating on that over the coming weeks. We've been preparing for our next interview with MHCLG for the continuous funding model to ensure the project can keep going in the direction it's going in. We've continued our alignment with Ripper. As you see, it's great to actually demo an end-to-end service where we're actually putting applications in and can see them appearing in BoPS. We have regular meetings and workshops across the two projects to make sure they're aligned. And we've also been working on creating some testing scenarios so that when we both for our own testing, one of which Michelle pretty much just demoed there, that's a pretty comprehensive scenario for testing that we'll be able to share with planners when they come to the beta testing as well. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, so if we can just go to the next slide, I'll give you a quick overview of, obviously, after this show and tell, we go into our own planning session and plan the next 2-week sprint. But here's our current thinking on what we'll be doing over the next 2 weeks. Continuing to prepare for the beta testing with planners. We'll be sharing those testing scenarios and fleshing them out a bit more so that we can hand them over to the planning officers to run through. We'll be collating some data from historical applications that align with those scenarios. So maybe 4 or 5 different applications with documentation so that we can run them through the system and see what outcomes we get. There's some development work we're still going to do. It'll be going on in the background. We've got to review how applications are assigned to officers. We think there's a little bit of a gap there. There's a couple of other things, perhaps PDF attachments to emails for the certificate rather than it being in the body. And we're also obviously thinking about how we're going to monitor that performance, how we're going to actually implement some of those metrics that I just talked about. And the case, continuing to build the case for this continuous funding and roll out to as many councils as possible. Thank you. I think I'm handing over to Tom now.
Thanks, Martin. So that's a great overview of the work moving forward there. And thank you, Michelle, for the demo. So we'd like to get as many people involved in BoPS as possible. If you're working in LPA or your planning staff or officers, we are really interested in getting your feedback on these new features that we are designing. So do get in touch. We will be working with partner organisations, Lambeth, Bucks and Southwark, with planning officers there to test these functions in the near future. And councils, yeah, if you're interested in finding out more about BoPS, just do get in touch, and we're very happy to do a demo and to show as much as you'd like to know. Next slide, please. We've kind of set out what's going forward, what we're looking to do going forward in Sprint 3. There's a backlog of features that we are looking to take forward as well. Here's just a quick summary, but our Trello board, which is in the link there, is public. You can have a look at that. But for an example, a feature that we're looking to take forward is how we protect privacy of application data, any data that shouldn't be made public, and how we do that. That's one of the examples there. But there are a number of other things, and we'll be prioritizing those with partner organizations moving forward. And that really much comes to it. We've kind of got close to the end of the presentation there, but I noticed there are a number of questions. So I'll quickly hand over to Lauren at Southwark, who can just quickly run through some questions.
Thank you, Tom. So the first question we have is, when tagging drawings, will you allow user-defined tags? If so, how would you manage the risk of too many random tags being created?
Shall I pick that up?
Okay, Martin. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the stories towards the top of the backlog is to review the way we tag documents. I don't imagine. So this is just thinking at the moment. We've got some work to do around it, but I don't imagine we'll be allowing random tags to be added. I think there will be a defined set of tags that will be applicable. It will be a much more comprehensive set of tags than you see now. We're considering a more structured approach. So we've got different tags for drawings and different types of document, such as I don't know, invoices or order forms or other kinds of documentation, which will become even more significant when we move on to householder and full applications. So we've got to review our tagging process to just make sure it's adequate for our MVP for permitted development, but that it is also kind of expandable and we'll be able to grow it as we need more sophisticated tagging systems. Anybody got any kind of insight, input, please get in touch, let us know what they think about tagging. That would be great.
Thank you.
Next question.
So the next one is, will there be an opportunity to record what aspect is invalid to keep a record of what changes have been made?
Again, I'll pick it up since I'm still off mute. Another story in the backlog is about more sophisticated tracking of individual documents. So do we want to, for example, indicate which document is invalid and for what reason? It adds a certain level of complexity to the rather simplistic validation process we've got at the moment, but it's in the backlog and it will definitely be considered. It will definitely help the flow for planning officers. We're aware of that. But at the moment, we're expecting there'll be a little bit of a workaround where they'll probably make a note on a post-it note and stick it to their screen or something like that. But yeah, definitely we're aware of that need, but it just doesn't seem to be quite at the top of our priority list just yet.
Thank you. So the next question is, can you filter search the documents that are being shown in proposal documents?
I feel like I should let someone else pick that one up.
Shall I take this one? No, it's all right. I just felt glad that you were getting all the questions. I think this one's around, so we have thought about this, and I think as we scale up BoPS to handle more complex applications that we're going to have a lot more drawings, we will need to think about how you can filter and kind of sift and search through the proposal documents. At the moment, we've kept it quite lightweight just because it is our MVP and it allows us to make progress. But as we move into beta testing, we can test with PlanX to see how much of, is this an issue right now for certificate of lawfulness applications? But I do think it is something we'll have to add some sort of filter or something in the future, I think. Oh, you're on mute. Okay.
Sorry, thank you. So the next question is actually on filters. So can you filter or search the document? Also, sorry, the next question. Let me just, sorry, it's just reordering. So will there be integration with the gov.uk notify to send off messages and decision notices to the applicants or agents via text messages or email?
I can answer that quite easily. Yes, as you saw, there was an email that was sent through gov.uk notify.
Thank you. So the next one is, how long do cases stay in the closed list?
Indefinitely, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good question. How long should they stay in the closed list? We're again, just to emphasize, we're really in MVP mode. So we want to just create the features that are needed for people to start using it, and we can start gathering some feedback. Obviously, the list of closed will build up. So that whole screen with the different applications and the different tabs with applications in different statuses, we expect will become far more sophisticated over time. So you'll be able to filter and sort and search and things like that. But it's a very rudimentary system at the moment, so they will just stay in there indefinitely.
Thank you. And then the last question is, how can applicants submit revised documents on an applicant-facing interface so that planners don't have to upload each doc manually themselves?
I can try and answer this one.
Go on.
So at the moment, that's not something that any of the applicant-facing interfaces support, that I understand. I don't think it's in RIPA's backlog, immediate backlog, to support that. So we're, we can't support that. If a applicant-facing service adds that features, we'd be keen to talk to them about how we could support that. I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why in future we couldn't build a simple feature for like send an applicant when we notify an applicant that there's an invalid document, give them a link to upload a new one. But it's not on the backlog at the moment. But there's no reason why it couldn't happen in future.
Yeah, it's something that we'd need to add to our API. It'd be a new feature for our API, but I don't want to build it until someone will use it, because I want to know what the right thing to build is.
Cool. We've just received one last question snuck in.
Yes, so this is a comment on tags and lists. So thoughts and tags and list of closed cases. It would be good if not already on the backlog, for system administrators to be able to easily modify these.
What would be really useful, Lauren, I don't know if that comment has a name attached to it.
It does. We know who it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's from Rich in Camden.
Rich, yeah, hi Rich. To be discussed, Rich, and we'd love to get you involved in that conversation.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions.
That's great. Thank you, Lauren. So I think that comes to the end of the show and tell presentation this morning. We'd like to thank you for your time. We're really excited about where the tool is and where we're going forward now. And we will be having the show and tell for the third sprint on the 21st of January at 10:30 a.m. And we look forward to seeing you then. So thank you very much for your time, and a happy new year.